it's enticing to sometimes, because there's like the stuff that feels easy to you, but it can still be a huge distraction from the bigger goals. And you have to release some things sometimes.
Heck yeah. Well, I guess what my next question might be, if you promised the capacity of 550,000 snacks and you're about to get the number from Walmart, and I imagine that once it's out there, there's going to be more requests to come. That's reasonable to assume. How are you thinking about this next phase of scaling up your capacity? How does that strike you?
So we've got that base covered as well. We so in the industry we're in, if it's meat and you're shipping it over state lines, it has to be made in a federally inspected like USDA plant, right? And a lot of people don't know this stuff. I didn't know any of this. My business partner is the product guy. I'm the sales and marketing guy. But so we already had a co-packer, is a short version of that. Someone else actually produces our recipes and our packaging and ships them to our warehouse. That was already happening. For other reasons and these new opportunities, we actually switched co-packers and to someone who just opened like this year a $7 million expansion specifically for snack stick production and met all our criteria. And they were in a place where they need to fill that capacity. So it worked out, I guess you could say. So we should be good on capacity now.
Awesome. Well, this sounds like things are just humming along here. And it feels like when you had that conversation with your wife and kids, sharing that it's going to be a challenging time when you were working full time in 2017 and trying to be an entrepreneur, you were kind of burning the candle at both ends. Yeah. And to fast forward now 5 or 6 years, what a journey it's been, man. I'm happy for you to hear it's working out. Do you go back to the engineering days and miss being an engineer in any ways?
No, not really, because a lot of my job was presentations, which I enjoyed, but they were usually presentations at night in front of angry city councils and residents, because my topic was traffic, right? So imagine a big development comes in town. Oh. They hire me to figure out how to mitigate the impacts, and I've got to say, hey, they've covered it. Like they're investing in the right infrastructure, and then everyone's like, you're run over my kids. I have a driver's license. You're no more qualified than I am. That kind of stuff. So I don't miss that part. And actually, it's interesting you brought that up. So in 2020, my whole world kind of fell apart professionally. And this is before PPP loans. I didn't know what the heck we were going to do. And I lost like more than half my revenue. Fire Creek was no longer really a cash flow business at that time because we were making all our money by the activities we were doing that were shut down. So I was like, what am I going to do? Luckily, I still had a great relationship with the engineering firm I left, and I went back and did some contract work, right? So they were just sending me like contract work, and then all the meetings went virtual. So I'm like, that's awesome. Now I don't have to go to city council meetings. So I actually got pulled back into it for a period, which I'm very blessed and like very thankful that I had that kind of security blanket there. It gave me a lot of confidence to not have to go crazy and go back full time or anything like that. And then I continued to do that for a while, and to the point where I got a little soft, I guess you could say. Like I was like, oh, this is easy money at a great rate. Like I'm just doing the parts that I like. However, what I knew, but I didn't want to admit, was that it was a major distraction to my bigger goals. So I finally cut that loose. And it was when I cut that loose, at the end of last year, early this year, like that's when all that one-on-one coaching, all the stuff I was doing around podcast guesting, like almost overnight transformed into like a mastermind group, attracting a much better clientele, much more engaged people. And so like my whole coaching business really exponentially grew this year, like majorly, pretty much because I finally like focused on it fully, almost fully. I still have engaged marriage at Fire Creek, but I stepped out of Fire Creek as a day-to-day and basically whatever I was going to earn from that, we turned it over and let a performance-based marketer help with the online sales. I'm still involved in the strategy and going to Walmart meetings and stuff, but it's much less of a focus for me. Engaged marriage is very passive. Once I gave up again, the engineering contract work, then things really took off. So I think, again, for the listeners, it's enticing sometimes because there's like the stuff that feels easy to you, but it can still be a huge distraction from the bigger goals. And you have to release some things sometimes.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Dustin, and kind of moving back to kind of where you're going from here in the future. Tell us, if we want to learn from you and your mastermind, or we want to find out more about Fire Creek or your journey, I mean, how do we find out more about you, connect with you, get enrolled in your course? Just tell us how to find you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my home base is simplesuccesscoaching.com. It's updating the website now to be a little more descriptive of exactly what I offer, but regardless, people can always email me as well. So if they had a question today, there's something that really inspired them or brought up something they want to follow up with me on, Dustin, Dustin, at simplesuccesscoaching.com is my direct email. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. So if people are over on LinkedIn, I have a pretty unique last name, pretty easy to find me, Dustin Riechmann, which is Riech. And I'd love to connect over there. That's between podcast guesting and LinkedIn it's a really powerful combination, and it's become kind of my new home base. I post there pretty much every weekday, and just have really grown a great network that I really love engaging with.
Awesome. And so, who might be the ideal avatar of the person that would be interested in your mastermind programs, Dustin?
Yeah, I describe them as mission-driven entrepreneurs. Oftentimes, they're solopreneurs. They're a one-person business. Um, at the accelerator level, they're typically doing six figures, but they have an eye towards wanting to aspire to like a seven-figure type of income, or they want to add another six figures. That's kind of how I usually phrase that. But they're really, it's purposely a very diverse group every time as far as verticals. There's a lot of coaches, consultants, service providers, SaaS founders, authors, speakers. So it's kind of anyone that would kind of wear a hat of expert in a certain subject matter. It's the type of people you'd expect to be interviewed on podcasts. But I curate each group, and I am real careful to make sure there's no competition within the group. So I feel like as a mastermind leader, what I've learned is my number one thing. Of course, I have a system. I'm teaching them how to do the marketing and do the podcast guesting. That's a given. But my top priority is to curate really good groups that are very collaborative, who would describe at the end of 90 days that they found like an entrepreneurial family. This is a place they can trust and open up and be vulnerable, and all the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial life. So I literally, like, as I'm filling up each group, I keep a physical paper with their name, and so I can look at these people. Like, I've got a digital marketer, I've got a woman who's a woman's empowerment coach. She mostly works with professional women who are wanting to bring their expertise online. I've got a money mindset coach, and a salesperson, a wealth manager, an email copywriter. So it kind of spans the gamut a bit on purpose, because what I found has been really fun. Like, a previous group had literally a chicken rancher, who it actually made sense for him because he's a really good storyteller, a very good character, and he's really passionate about sustainable agriculture, and he sells chickens, but he sells like education too, So like having him in there with someone who's like a Facebook ads expert, like it creates some really neat insights, because like people think differently when they come from different verticals. So my first temptation was to be like, I'll get all these e-commerce people, because I had my Fire Creek kind of banner to say like, I know how to grow an e-commerce company this way. But I decided not to do that, because a lot of the e-commerce people I talked to all were using they all had the same mindset about marketing. And so I found it was much more fun and effective to have like different types of people in each group. So I know it's a very long answer, but basically it's experts who want to add six figures, who love talking about their business, who are passionate, they love to teach. Like that's who would really thrive in my group.
What do you say to the entrepreneur? Take me for an example. I was sharing earlier that I'm going on a bunch of podcasts right now. And when you talk about your accelerator course, I absolutely love the idea.
Yeah.
And, full time like you, got three young kids.
Oh, really?
I've got, three businesses. I've got all kinds of opportunities. But I feel kind of prioritized right on all these things. So I love what you're saying. I wouldn't know where to find the time. What would you say to that person who already has so much on their plate?
Yeah, I mean, that person's me, and that person's every member of my group too, right? And so there's a couple things there. I thought what you were going to ask, and I'll answer this, even if it's not exactly what you asked, is, what if you've been on a lot of shows and it hasn't drove revenue? Or I really like this idea of being on shows. I think it would definitely drive revenue, but I don't know how to like do it. So those are the two problems we're really solving in one mastermind. So we start off addressing the how to get on the shows very efficiently, even if you were doing it yourself. Then like we immediately, the fifth week, literally like it's a 12-week program. The first 4 weeks are like my framework, which is purpose, plan, pitch, perform. So we define your purpose. Why do you want to be on there? What's going to be your call to action? the plan is the research, how to really do that in a fast way and find the right shows for you. Pitch is how to like have a really crafted like pitch that you can recycle but customize each time to get 80% acceptance rates. That's been my experience. And then perform, like how to efficiently prepare and show up. So all you really have to do is do the interview. Then the next thing we do is either if you have one already, great, or if you need to hire a virtual assistant, like that's the real secret sauce here is we'll help you hire them if you don't have them. And if you do have them, I will train them. Like I have all the training for a virtual assistant to go run those first 4 steps for you.